think that it's, basically my honor to sit here and have this conversation with these ladies because we have pre-gamed this conversation and I'm just excited for y'all. So, okay, because they're about to drop some nuggets, so get your phones out, take notes, post about this, hashtag it. I don't know what the hashtag will be. We'll figure that out. But I would say just make sure that you spread the word about some of the nuggets that you guys are going to get today. And so, to my immediate left is Ms. Pamela Bryant. Ms. Pamela Bryant is the Senior Vice President and Chief Supply Chain Officer for Parkland Health. She has a proven track record in driving cost reductions, supporting dynamic growth, implementing new initiatives, improving operational efficiencies, and driving supplier diversity. Pamela earned her Bachelor of Science degree from Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia, and her Master of Business Administration degree from Everett University in Danville, Virginia. She is an advisory board member of the Association for Healthcare Resource and Materials Management, and previously served as president of the local North Texas chapter. She also serves as the board vice chair for the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council, and is the board finance chair of the Women's Business Council Southwest, and is a founding member of the Global Health Exchange Customer Advisory Board. So a round of applause for Ms. Pamela. Next, we have Ms. Dell Ingram-Walker, who has been a part of the Baylor Scott and White family for over 24 years. Dell currently serves as the chief, right?
Well done.
That's a lot. Listen, we're about to talk about it too.
Yes, we are.
Dell currently serves as the Chief Operating Officer at Baylor Scott and White McLane Children's Medical Center. Dell graduated from the University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa with a BS in Healthcare Management and earned her Master of Business Administration from Texas A&M University, Central Texas. She is a member of the American College of Healthcare Executives, Medical Group Management Association, and the National Association of Health Service Executives, NAHSE. She serves on the Leadership Steering Committee for the Children's Hospital Association, which is also known as CHA. So thank you, Dell, for being here this evening. Last but not least, we have my friend Ms. Crystal Brown down on the end, and she is a native of the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area. She serves as the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at Methodist Mansfield Medical Center in Mansfield, Texas. Crystal is a healthcare executive with over 24 years of experience in human resources, supply chain, and hospital operations. She is a proud graduate of Texas Women's University, where she received her master's in business administration. She's a member of the American College of Healthcare Executives, serving as on the board of directors with me. Women Healthcare Executives Network Committee and the Foundation Committee. She also serves as a board member for North Texas Healthcare Laundry Cooperative Association. So a round of applause for Ms. Crystal. Okay, so this is, I've already, we've vetted some of these questions, so it's no surprise. So none of these questions are a surprise to these ladies, but what they have told me is that they didn't prepare any answers. I was like, then why do we pregame? That's just what we do, because that's the life we live. And so I'm going to start with Crystal as we talk through we're going to jump right in, right, and talk about barriers and challenges that we have faced. And so, Ms. Crystal, what barriers have you faced in your career as an African-American healthcare executive, and how have you overcome them?
Okay, so yes, as many of you in this room can probably attest to, my barriers are probably no different than yours. So my barriers, I would say, have been age bias, gender bias, race bias, and all the assumptions and stereotypes that come with that. Ways that I've overcome that is by always being prepared, knowing my stuff, and execute, right? Because until you do that, that is when you can bust those barriers wide open, right? Because they tend to assume because they don't know otherwise. So then when we show up and we know our stuff and we articulate, that's when we start to break down those barriers.
Only in a room of a safe space can you say the word bust and everybody say, Y'all know. I feel safe. Okay, so Ms. Dell, so people of color and women are disproportionately given precarious assignments known as the glass cliff. Has this happened to you, and if so, did it become a strategic opportunity to prove leadership capabilities, I'm pretty sure it has, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
And then how did you do it?
All right. Can you all hear me? I don't know if my mic is on. Thank you, ma'am. All right, so I definitely have gone through that situation before. It was actually my very first role as a financial analyst, and I will tell you that it was a role that I didn't want. When the director of human resources told me about it, I told her, no, I didn't want to do finance. I was wanting to do healthcare management. I wanted to manage right out, and she kept saying this is a perfect role. So I wound up taking the role, and they didn't really know what to do with me at first. They kind of gave me everything that they could think of. I did financial reporting, I did strategic planning, I did research. They had me over research committees, and so they were throwing all kinds of things at me. Really, the big thing is just what Crystal said, know your stuff. Yeah. And so you want to make sure that whatever they throw at you, do it with excellence, because that's what I did. I had people to complain about it too. I didn't do it at work, but certainly my husband, my friends, they were my safe space to vent about it. But if I didn't know it, I learned it, and I did really, really well. And the way that I was able to excel with that is that somebody somewhere, and I don't even know who that was to this day, noticed what I was doing. And so from that particular role, I was recruited to work in executive administration. And when I went up there, I worked with the board of trustees, board of directors. I got to know all of the big wigs at Scott & White. It was Scott & White back then. So I took that opportunity to work hard, was noticed, got the position. And then right after that position, I got to go back and kind of create my own thing, doing exactly what I wanted to do. But it really started with knowing your stuff and excelling at what you do.
I like that. So I think I'm taking notes too. Because, you have to be a lifelong learner, right? No matter where you are. And so what I did also want to put out there, and Ms. Cheryl's going to help us with index cards, there may be some questions that we may not get to because we will be going through these, and we have we can't be here all night. Right? But what I want to do is take some questions down, and if there are some that has not been asked and we still need to cover them, or there's one that we may have time for, I definitely want to be able to do that, okay? So thank you for sharing that, Dell, about your strategies and what you did. So that's going to kind of pivot us right next to my question for Ms. Pamela in terms of strategies you've used for career advancement. And so what strategies did you find as helpful as you ascended in your organization, and why were they successful, and some of the pitfalls, what should we avoid?
Yeah, so thank y'all for the opportunity. I'm happy to be here. I don't know no other way but to be real with y'all, right? So the pitfalls are real, and it's hard out here for us to stop. So the things that you have to do well are the things that you know you do well. Right? Yes. And so you can't have a situation where there's a project or there's something going on and you second guessing yourself. Yeah. Because that's what they want you to do, right? Yes. So you want to be able to step into your purpose and make sure that you know what you're doing, right? Now, along with that, you're going to always find pitfalls as you go along the way. The strategy I took was, here's a project that you've assigned me to, but I'm helping that project too. I'm helping on that project too. So you have to volunteer for projects, things that are outside of your space, so that you get to know other people. This job is a network job. And all the people like to say, no, it's not your talent. It's about who you know. And make sure that people know your name. And you do good work. And so as Dell said, she doesn't know who put her name in or said something first because they've observed her doing good work. And we always show up. That's the thing for me. It's like we always show up. When I first got into healthcare, got to my first director role, I was on the East Coast working for Mansfield, and I was going to my first board meeting, so I'm excited. I got to present at the board meeting. It was me and a colleague, and the colleague was presenting his portion, I was presenting my portion. So we walk into the boardroom, and everybody's introducing, how you doing? And so one of the board members said, his name was John Giles. And so it's like, Mr. Giles, good to see you, good to see you. Hey, hon. Because I'm like this. That's who it's on. Okay. So you have to corrections in a moment. So I said, it is so nice to see you, Mr. Prince. So if he's gonna be Mr. Giles, and I was married at the time, so Miss Scott, if he's gonna be Mr. Giles, I'm gonna be Miss Scott. Or he gonna be your boy, and I'm gonna be Hunter. So when you figure out which way you wanna play it. And he said to me, that's a great point. Thank you for making that point to me. I didn't mean to offend you. But if I'm like, hey, hon, hey, good to see you. No, don't accept the nonsense. Can't accept the nonsense. The days of accepting nonsense are over. Know your worth. Add a little tax. And make it make sense. Make it make sense.
So I'm gonna move on because that is, I mean, that speaks to so many people here in this room. I can feel it, I can hear it, I see the nods, I see the I mean, some people snapping under the table. So what? So it is about who you know, it is all about connectedness, but I want to talk about these early struggles in our career because we do have some early careers that are here and trying to navigate some of that, right? And so Crystal, I'm going to move to you and talk to us about how did you navigate these power struggles early in your career versus later when you had a more formal leadership role?
Yeah, so early on, when I looked even younger, right, I felt like I was tested often, right. Look. She said talking about me. But I feel like I was taking offense to it, and I let it make me angry at times, right? And your emotions played into it, right? But as I started to grow up and mature in that, you know what, Crystal, they're gonna continue to second guess you. That's not going away. So now what do? Another thing that I feel like prepared me for that was I had to also get to the mature mindset of understanding everything doesn't warrant a response. And so where I was ready to pop off at times, right? Say nothing. And to the point that Pamela made earlier, sometimes just that pause and looking them dead in their eye lets them know, okay, maybe that wasn't how I was supposed to approach that with her, right? And so they kind of self-correct. And so that's how I feel like as I progressed in my career, I addressed things differently versus allowing that emotional reaction. Because it just made me realize that's about them and their insecurity. I'm going to continue to be excellent and do exactly what I'm supposed to, and that's not going to change. So I think for me, that was the difference. And now, those things definitely won't get an emotional reaction out of me. I'm going to let you sit with that, and I'm going to move on, and I'm going to continue to be excellent. So I think that's the difference that I found early in my career versus now, how I make moves.
That's good, because it also talks to professional identity. And so, Dell, I want to ask you about this. I am probably in a minority when I say I'm a social butterfly. And everybody who knows me knows that this is to be factual. To where I've never met a stranger. And I've been that way since I was a little girl. Thank you for covering that I have not been abducted. So, but I want to talk to Dell about how did you craft your professional identity and how does your identity really align with others in your professional expectations?
Right.
So share with us about that.
So I'm gonna say I'm the opposite of you, Kris. I'm an introvert, very much so. I really love operating in the shadows. But when I think about how I crafted my professional identity, really the main thing that I think about, especially when I first started out, I always wanted to dress the part. I remember telling my mom, actually I planned on being a pharmacist, changed my mind at the last minute, and really stumbled upon the healthcare management degree plan. But before I stumbled upon that, I told my mom that I wanted, because she was telling me the very first year I wasn't decided, and she was like, okay, what are you doing? And so I just kind of flippantly told her that I wanted to be a CEO of a children's hospital. Now, I said that not having ever stepped foot in a children's hospital before. So I didn't know what my path was going to be, how I was going to get there, and then it just so happened that I stumbled upon that degree plan. When I got my first job, remember I said I wanted to be CEO, I always dressed the part. So from the very beginning, I always wore suits. When I made it up to the 6th floor, and that was the highest floor we had over there, but when I made it up there, even if people didn't know who I was or what I did, they always assumed that I knew something or that I could do something just because I looked like it. So when you all walked in here tonight and when you looked at all of us, you formed an opinion about us. Whether it was good or bad, I hope it was good.
It was great.
Yeah. I took a selfie with it, I'm sorry. But you formed an opinion of us. And so when you walk into any room, people are going to look at you and they are going to form an opinion instantly. So make sure that that first impression that they have of you is good. And so I really crafted my identity really from that. When I was younger, I paid attention more to what my hair looked like, all of those type things. As I got older and more established, people knew my work ethic, they knew the product that I put out. Now I just do me. And so you want to make sure that you bring your true authentic self, but also too, make sure that you can blend into the spaces that you're in and dress the part for whatever you are, at work or outside of work.
So that leads to the next question, which is how do you develop those leadership skills and maintain that pristine look that you have and not lose your personal self?
Right. So the one thing that I will say about leadership skills, you don't have to have a title to be a leader. So you really just have to have the ability to influence and the ability to inspire. So you don't need a title, you don't have to have that. The second thing that I would say is make sure that you're part of organizations, and I'm looking at you because you do a great job. If you're in organizations, volunteer for those leadership positions. You will only get better by doing things over and over and over. Consistency and repetition. So make sure that you're volunteering for those roles, because if nothing else, you will learn Robert's Rules of Order, and that will take you very, very far. But the third thing that I think about leadership skills, and what was most important to me, is you have to be coachable. I know very young in my career, I was headstrong, I knew, everything, and especially when somebody was trying to tell me about myself, I didn't take it too well. So, but you have to look at the person who's telling you and their intention. And so sometimes it is hard to hear, those things about yourself. But what you really have to do is number one, listen, know that person's intention, and he only had the best intentions for me. And then when I kind of got over myself, I kind of looked at it from a different perspective. I really looked inward and really worked on those things that I knew I could change. So you just got to be coachable.
I love that, being coachable. So we all work in healthcare, right? And I do believe that a majority of our audience works in healthcare. And over the last few years, we have encountered some change, just a little bit. Change in the workforce, change in procedures, change in how we do things. Guess what, y'all? People can work from home and still be productive. Yep. So there is a shift in healthcare, as minor as it may seem, it's happening, right? And so, but a doctor once told me that no one likes change but a baby with a wet diaper. And that still sticks with me because change is hard for us. And so I wanted to kind of talk about challenges and our well-being and how do we kind of control ourselves in the midst of that, because we've been through the ringer the last 4 years. And so Miss Pam, who is my supply chain leader for Parkland, one of the busiest hospitals in the Metroplex, if not the busiest in the Metroplex, what tools have you used to manage significant organizational change and maintaining Pamela, what we see today? Because this is what she looked like during COVID. I saw it. When she couldn't find masks, she still looked over.
Yes, for sure. I think the greatest tool for me when the organization makes a change when I make a change, right, in my organization. So supply chain is a large organization anywhere. So I was at Baylor for a long time. I was at HCA for a long time. So running those organizations and running Parkland's supply chain, change has to come with a why, right? Yeah, just change stuff just to change it. So you must have a why on why you're changing. Now, for me, when I'm with my team and we're trying to make changes that are impactful, I always want to know what's the improvement. So what are we gaining? What's the efficiency? What's the impact on the team? So to make sure you cover all the bases. But when the organization makes a change, so when I'm sitting in my executive meetings with the CEO, the CEOs, they're not really saying, hey Pam, what's your 3, right? And they want to know, here's the change we're making. So then your job is to communicate and implement the change. The biggest piece of that is the communication of the change. So if you're communicating the change like you don't like the change and you think it's a stupid change and why would they do that, you're the problem. The communication of the change, you have to develop the why for your team so that your team embraces the change and then is able to walk in the change and help the organization move where they're trying to move. So you can't be the barrier. And make sure that as you're talking through that, when teams are asking you questions and, well, I don't understand why they would do so and so, you know, your answer isn't me either. Your answer is, here's the improvement and here's the why. And let's try to change. Because if we don't try it, we don't know if it's good or bad change. So let's say we tried and it's a bad change. Then we get to communicate back an improvement to bad change, right? So you implemented it, it didn't work for this, and this, and here's how we think we can fix it. And then that makes your organization or whoever you're leading be a part of the solution and not the problem. So that when there's another change that comes along, who do you think they invite to the table? How to get the change implemented. So I'm all about change. And my team will say, you know, they call her a change agent because she can always change something. Because I'm constantly looking for improvement. So I don't change stuff just to change stuff, but I want things that make the team better, make the organization better. I want folks happy to come to work. Now you need to come to work. But I need my staff happy when they come to work because I want them to produce a great outcome. But we have to always, and my team knows, anything smell like supply chain, it could have a whiff of logistics in it. And my team got it. And I'll come back with my senior team and I'll be talking to them like, do you ever say no? No, because we're the experts. Who knows logistics better than us? Who knows supply chain better than us? Why would I allow somebody else to do it? So those are the things that you have to walk your team through, but you have to walk the walk. Now, you don't like it, get with your husband or whoever and say they are idiots. Why? But they allow it. But when you show up on campus, hey y'all, this is the change. And this is what we need to do. And let's give it a shot and see if we can get it implemented.
The influence,
So, yes, Ms. Dell, so as we're talking through this, and we talk about change, and again, we've all been through it, how have you built confidence and resilience throughout your career and just maintaining?
Okay, so this is going to be a tough one for me. I think you learn being resilient through your lived experiences. And for me, and then when you're resilient, you come out on the other side and you adjust all of those type of things. For me, it was a really tough time in my life. I had just started my master's degree. My sister passed away. And I didn't think, we were really close. I didn't think we should go on, well, I should go on with the program. And my mom told me, life is for the living. You make sure that you get your education, because she was really huge on education. Well, the next year, my mother died. And the next year after that, my father died, my brother-in-law died, and my grandmother died. And this was all while I I was in my master's degree program, and I was doing the biggest construction project of my career at that time. And so obviously, any of those things would have been enough on their own. But I took what I learned from my mom. She was one of my biggest role models. I knew she would want me to keep going. I knew she would want me to finish my education. She knew what I wanted to do. And so I found a way every day to pick myself up and do the things that I needed to do. And I was so happy the year that my dad died. I graduated from grad school, and then that February we opened up the new building. And so through all of that turmoil and just tragedy, there were some good things that came out on the other side. So, you know, I told myself if I could get through all of that, nothing, there's nothing I can get through with nothing. So certainly holding on to my faith, but also working hard, and you're able to do it. So that's how I was able to do it.
Now listen, Dell. Let's not take us there. But it just reminds us that we're all human, and that whole checking your personal stuff at the door when you walk through the thresholds of the hospital is just almost next to impossible, right? Because real life is going to happen and tragedy is going to hit. So, Miss Crystal, I want to talk to you because a lot of times when I text or call Crystal, especially in the afternoon, it's something in the background, it's a soccer game, it's a kid in the car, she ordering chicken nuggets. And I mean, but this is something, and then she's a boss, right? I mean, she is the COO at Methodist Mansfield. They're, you know, not a little small, you know, strip ball. And so I feel like I need to understand from you, how do you balance like your career, your personal life, your continued growth, and honestly, is there really anything that's balanced? I mean, is that a real word?
So to first talk about the balance question, right? Most women in leadership, interesting enough, men don't get asked this question as much, but women do. And I will say, I don't balance, because if you look at the definition of balance, it means of all equal parts. Sometimes I'm an amazing mom. And sometimes I'm an amazing COO. And sometimes I take work off and I'm an amazing wife, right? But those things don't always all happen at the same time. So the word that I tend to adopt is I find harmony amongst all the things that matter to me. So one of the things that you will notice about me is you won't see me at everything, because everything is not important for me to be at. So you may see me today, you may not see me again at another function for a professional for months, right? Because that just means I'm prioritizing something else at that time. I may be putting up a tower, right? I might be building out a neuro ICU, which we just completed. And so I make time for that. But I would definitely say there's a book, and I'm an avid reader. Let me tell you, there's a book called The 12-Week Year. And it really talks about how you maximize your time management. And through that, I've adopted blocking on my calendar. My team all knows that. One of my former employees is sitting over there, and he knows I do not play about my schedule. So my assistant knows if it's color-coded in olive green, that is my family time. Unadjustable, right? She will very nicely articulate, yeah, Crystal has a hard stop at this time, right? To help me protect that. I also have hard stops built in my day to replenish myself. Rather, that means I need to step outside so that I can regather myself and be ready to go to that next meeting where I may face resistance, right? I need to go to the bathroom, right? Sad that you have to schedule that, but sometimes you do, right? I have to go hydrate. I have to go nourish my body, because those are the things that keep us from being patients in the healthcare facilities that we all work at. And so for me, time management is number one for me. And I prioritize the things that matter. Other things, my assistant knows, I'll tell her in a minute, that can happen in the next 2 weeks, right? There's no need that needs to happen today. There's also times where I need to get on the calendar with Kris, and I'm like, make time whenever Kris has time. I need to talk to her about something, right? So time management, time blocking is huge for me. 12-Week Year, if you have not read it, read it. It's a great book about really maximizing your time. Outside of that, I protect my family time. I incorporated therapy into my health and well-being over the last couple of years, and it has been a game changer. My girlfriends are tired of me saying, Dr. Collins said. Because Dr. Collins has freed me up to say no to things that don't serve me, to not feel guilty about saying no to things that, send a gift card. You don't have to go to every baby shower, all the things. Send a gift card, they're gonna be blessed, it's gonna be okay. Protect your time, right? So those are things that I have had to put into place to protect my peace and to be productive. And I have maximized what I'm able to accomplish 10 times over by doing these things. And I also, like I say, I only serve on 2 boards right now. I decline boards. I recommend other peers of mine for boards because I can't be amazing and excel if I spread myself too thin. So you have to learn what matters in this season of your life, and that changes. So that's where you find that harmony. Another thing I've incorporated is I take 3 trips a year. One is my girlfriends only. One is my husband and kids. One is just my husband and I. And I make time for those every year. And when I'm in those, I am fully present in those times. And so those are the things that I do to refill my cup and find harmony in all the things that matter to me.
That's good stuff right there. So,
I like that.
I'm gonna take that in the book. Add to cart. Okay. So Ms. Dell,
Yes.
you hit us with a 1-2 punch just now.
Uh-oh.
So, but I'm gonna ask you. I mean, after hearing that, how do you take care of yourself? Like, we talk about self-care all the time.
Yeah.
That is the buzzword for, well, I think it's like 2022, 2023. Self-care, self-care. How do you take care of Dell?
So for the most part, after I went through all of that, my mom died from a genetic heart condition, and that scared me, and I really wanted to make sure that I took care of myself. So I found, actually, by chance, I was at a health fair that we were participating in. I just came out to see my team and help, and ran into or saw across the room a fitness team. And the lady that was standing there, she just looked really, really good, and I was like, ooh, I want to look like her. So I walked over and introduced myself, and we exchanged information, and I started training with her. If you know anything about bodybuilding, she was IFBB Pro. She had been to Olympia 4 times, qualified 5 times. So she became my trainer back in 2015, and still to this day, I just work out with her every week. So lifting weights has been the way that I take care of myself. We're all in healthcare, we know the benefits of exercise. I will say that as I went along, I challenged myself. So I did do a bodybuilding competition back in 2018. But really working out is the way that I clear my mind. And so after I went through all of that, it really was just a way to clear my mind. But I will tell you that bodybuilding, you learn so many different things that you can use in every facet of your life. The main thing being consistency. I said that word earlier, and I'll keep saying it again for a reason. If you want to get good at something, you have to be consistent with it. You have to do it over and over and over. So if public speaking is something that you want to do, if golf is something that you want to do, whatever it is that you want to do, make sure that you're consistently doing it. Working out also gave me confidence that I've never had before. If you can step up on that stage, wearing what we wore, you can really, really do anything. And like I said, we know all of the benefits of exercise being in healthcare. So that's one way that I make sure that I take care of myself. I do, like Crystal said, make sure I have time to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And you have to block off that time. I get hangry, so I block off time for lunch. I have to make sure that I eat, and my assistant knows that for sure. But, just find time to do the things you want to do. We always say that we don't have time. We don't have time to work out. We don't have time to do this. We don't have time to do that. I did that when I was vice president. So I did all the other things that I normally do, but I made time for that because it was important to me. So make time for those things that are important to you, whatever that may be. So that's how I take care of myself.
Okay. So I wrote down bodybuilding, no.
What's important to
But
you?
I did write down consistency.
Yes, consistency.
The things you learn about people is so fascinating. So thinking about learning about people, we're going to kind of pivot a little bit to mentorship and role models, right? So Pam, this is on you. How important is having a mentor to grow as a leader?
You can't grow without it. You can't. You can't grow without somebody who has your best interests at heart and is helping you and guiding you and can give you real talk. And ain't nobody pepping you up and making sure you feel good after you've done something. We need the person that says, that's great, however, the way you communicated in that email was foul. You need that kind of mentor. So for me, there's always two sets of mentors. My professional mentor, so that is my boss or an executive who's taken me in, a board member who wants me to get to another place and is guiding me on the politics of the board or the politics on how you do things and navigate the system within your organization. But then my secondary mentor is a friend that is usually either my peer or higher level. I report to them, so we aren't gonna be worried about you firing me. But I need the guidance around, hey, where you responded to that. Maybe you should have thought X, Y, and Z. Or why did you respond that way? So I do a lot of that kind of questions with my mentors. Now I have mentees, and so if you talk to any of my mentees, they're gonna say, yeah, she don't get no break. You don't get no pass on the nonsense, right? So I'm gonna have you prepared. I want to prep you. I want to get you ready. I want to know what your dreams are. I want to know what your aspirations are. But as you tell me that, I want to know what you're willing to sacrifice and what you're willing to do, because they're not gonna give it to you. And everybody in this room, for the record, don't lay your sword or lay your shield down on DEI. Don't do it. So, enough said. So, make sure that you are moving in a way that folks see you for you. Doesn't matter if you're female, doesn't matter if you're minority, doesn't matter. They see you and they see your work. But you have to have somebody that's able to tell you that, listen, ma'am, that was a bad response. Or when they asked you to be on that project, you should have said yes. And why didn't you say yes? So that's, maybe there's a reason you didn't say yes. So have those conversations. But let's not get into a place where we have a mentor that we feel, is helping us move along, and all things are rosy. Because any setting you get in is not gonna always be rosy. So what are you gonna do in the room when you're the target? And it doesn't even have to be personal target, right? So I'm always, when I'm thinking about projects and things in the room, sometimes in the room, supply chain is on the hit list. Sometimes. And so I want to be receptive of your conversation and your feedback. But what I don't do is I don't allow you to disrespect my team. So you can have all the conversation you like about supply chain and they didn't get it and it wasn't there, and I understand. but there's no disrespect that happens to my team. Can we be better? Yes. But you don't want me to tit for tat. Okay, can we do that? Right? You don't want me to do that. Because there's a lot of room for, improvement in all areas. So, but how you respond to that is important. You can't take everything personal.
No.
And like Kris said, everything don't require a response. And listen, everything is not about race. Everything is not somebody trying to attack your race or your minority. It's not always about that. So stop taking stuff so personally when people say it, right? Because when you know it doesn't belong to you and it doesn't apply to you, why are you offended? Why are you offended? Be mindful. Be mindful. And be mindful of how you respond, how you carry yourself. And mostly African American women in here, mostly. So you don't want to get the angry black female. That's a real thing. It's a real thing. And it's built around emotions and how you respond and how you, as someone is communicating and trying to articulate with you what you doing, how you moving. Be mindful. Your words are important. Make sure they hear them.
Okay, so I just got told y'all I was going to need to pay attention to the timekeeper on this one. 'Cause this one's I can keep going, but there's a question that I put in here that I have to get answered. And Crystal got it. This is a question that I ask a lot of people because it's so important to hear, because everybody sees you where you are today and they just think that, oh, it just happened, right? And you have to understand some hard transitions. And so talk to us about, in as specific as you can be, the hardest transition you had to make, whether it was from manager to director, from director to senior director to VP. What was that? And how did you make that leap? And what made it so hard?
Yeah, so I had a short conversation with some of the ladies in the back earlier about how, specifically in my career path, there's a lot of people that fast track to the C-suite because they get an admin residency and who they know, and they're somebody's son, and all the things, right? That wasn't my story. And so I started entry level while working during the day, going to school at night, working in HR, and I just took on all the things, whether I had the title or not, right? Took on all the things. And so once I finished school and then I qualified for other roles, it was, my whole journey was hard because I had to get them to stop looking at me in this way. And that sometimes meant me taking the brand, that is Crystal V. Brown, to other organizations. So if you see me on LinkedIn, I did job hop. I was at one organization for 10 years, another organization for 8 years, another organization but I think what made my career journey to where I am now so much of a challenge is because I didn't have that cookie cutter career path. So I was in HR for 12 years, and then I realized I'm only seeing people kind of come in and leave the organization. There's a whole lot of business that's happening in between. And in that time, I had also gotten my MBA. So little does Pamela know, and I just told her today, Pamela was that mentor for me from afar, and she had never met me before. Because my next move that I made out of HR was into supply chain operations, because supply chain is at the helm of all the business, right? They are number 2 on the P&L outside of salaries and wages. And so I wanted to know, how do I get into the business, the meat of the organization? And when the opportunity came for me to shoot my shot and be bold and tell this leader, hey, I know you're looking for something different in supply chain, because they were getting automated. And there were some major changes shifting. The Amazon effect was happening to supply chain, right? And so I convinced our regional director to give me a shot. I know how to manage change well. Teach me products and I'm your person. I will make sure you're the number 1 supply chain in our organization. I owned up to that, I executed on that, and I saw people like Pam moving and making big moves. She has always had a very respectful brand in supply chain. And so I was like, if she can do it, I can do it. And so she didn't even know that, but from afar, I watched Pam execute. And I would be at little things that I would see her at and those kind of things. And so my whole career journey has been hard. And like you say, people look and say, oh my God, you're in the C-suite, you know? And I'm like, yeah, if we talk about it, it took a long time. So I went into supply chain, and then I had to convince somebody to stop seeing me as just supply chain and allow me to get into hospital operations. Let me execute some of those construction projects. Let me build this hospital. If I can handle people, HR, I can handle products, supply chain management, I can handle all the rest of this. And me being bold and shooting my shot at the right time and being known for executing in everything they gave me, I'm gonna be best in HR. I'm gonna be best in supply chain. I'm gonna make sure that I get my projects under what my budget was. I just built a 32-bed neuro ICU on a $20.1 million budget, and I came in $2.7 million under budget. So every time I was doing something, I went all in. My construction teams know I was like, we will not have any hookups. We will not do anything. We will not unhook something if we don't need to. We won't cut that line if we're not supposed to. So that all the contingency funds, because you always have to have 10% contingency on those projects, and that's what I got back. I saved that, and now I'm building the 9th OR with just those contingency funds, and we weren't gonna have money for that OR. So that's why I say it was hard for me, but I had to prove myself in every level because that wasn't my background, because they did not know me in that space. But by doing that, I was able to grow in my career.
So that is awesome. And so I got one last question for all three of you, and then we're gonna go. Yes, I see. One last question, and while you think on it, I want everybody to go back, and I've told you guys this, so you should already know, but then you guys told me that you didn't do anything with the words that I sent you. So,
Kris, I did.
Thank you, Crystal. The fact that these ladies know me from different walks of life, I just love. But think about where you were at the age of 25, right? Because spoiler alert, we're not 25 or 26. So think about, thank you. She's my favorite. So what I would say is think about where you were at the age of 25 and give me 1 to 2 sentences about what you would tell yourself at that age and where you were on your journey in healthcare. While you think about that, I want to just mention something in terms of mentorship and just a shameless plug from a membership in organizations such as NAHSE and mentorship in professional organizations. They pair you with the right individuals. And I know knee-jerk reaction is to, one, follow all these brilliant young ladies on LinkedIn, and then the next thing, fill up their DMs with, hey, can you be my mentor? I don't know you. But what I am going to do is, well, how can I help you, right? You want to hear about my journey? I don't share my journey with anyone. But how can I help you? I want to make sure that you're paired with the right person that can actually get you to where you need to be. And that's not everybody, okay? So everybody doesn't have that interest for you at heart. So make sure that you study this person, you understand their journey. Just like she said about, she saw, Pamela had no idea. Let me tell you something about Pamela. Pamela ain't on no social platforms and never have been. And so and Pamela and I know each other through our beautiful sorority. And so I know how she moves. And so when she's not on any social platforms or anything like that, we have to text her off to the side. So in order for somebody to see her, you have to see her in things like this, or at work, or in other community engagements that she participates in. And so, but that's Pamela's lifestyle. So you're not gonna get her if you're an influencer, and that's your dream. It's not gonna be Pamela. She's not the right person for you. If you're looking for business development opportunities and how to step outside of your, social butterfly and know how to take, she jokes with me all the time about me and her in selfies, but it's not gonna be Pamela, right? And so you have to know who you are asking to mentor you, because this is your career. These ladies have made it to kind of where they want to be, and they're still on that journey, but they figured out some stuff. And so if you have a mentor that you want to be paired with, get involved in organizations who have actual mentorship programs like NAHSE who pairs you with the right person, because you may not know who you need to be with. And they'll pair you with someone who can actually help you on that journey. So now I'm going back to my question. That was a shameless plug, they probably paid me. But so I'm going to start down with Crystal about.
She is prepared.
Yes, she was prepared. What's the 2 sentences you're going to tell 25-year-old Crystal?
You know what? I am proud of 25-year-old Crystal. So one of the things I would say is at 25, you don't box yourself in. That, thankfully, I had a mentor who, when I thought I was going to box myself into HR and get a degree in HR and just hyper focus on HR, she was like, don't do that. Keep your path open. If you are passionate about business and all the elements of business, study business. That will open up opportunities for you. So thankfully, I had the right people pouring into me to make sure that I did that. But the thing that I would say at 25, try all the things. I had a mentor tell me, you're in your prime earning years, right? So try things, figure out that path you think you might want to be on. You may just not have tried anything else. So as Dell said earlier, like whether I had the title or not, if somebody was going to be out that day, I was like, hey, I can do benefits coordination if you show me, how to do X, Y, and Z. Hey, our recruiter was out. Hey, I can do recruitment if you just show me how to log into the system, so I think at 25, what really helped me was I was hungry. I wanted to eat, and so I was willing to do all the things whether I had the title or not. So at 25, that's a good time to still be willing to do all the things so you can figure out what you're really good at and then go all in on.
Okay, Ms. Dell, what are you telling 25-year-old Dell?
25-year-old Dell, you are exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yes. Yes.
The fact that you're in this room tonight means something, and you will take away, whether you take away nuggets from these ladies here or someone within the room, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. When I told my mom I wanted to be the CEO of the Children's Hospital, I didn't have a plan, I didn't have a path, but the Lord made a path for me every step of the way. So just know that you are where you're supposed to be, and if you work hard at it, you will definitely get there.
Aren't you with Pam? What do you tell 25-year-old Pam?
The question is what my parents telling 25-year-old Pam who got a biology pre-med degree and promised I was going to go back to med school. I am telling 25-year-old Pamela that the journey's worth it.
Yes.
The journey is worth it. And that you gotta be focused. But it's worth it. Because you can't see it at 25. You're like, I'm trying to get a job, pay my rent, so I can eat. But it's worth the sacrifice. The journey's worth it.
And 25-year-old Kris was a hot mess. Well, I would just say to 25-year-old Kris that it is okay to not be okay. And I felt like I had to be perfect. I had to be somebody that I wasn't. And what I would tell 25-year-old Kris, I would tell 30-year-old Kris, you know what? I'm telling 46-year-old Kris today. It's okay to not be okay. You know, it is totally okay to not be okay. And we need to understand that because we expect perfection and we're our own worst enemies. And social media hasn't helped that in any way. As we watch our friends climb and climb and climb and things like that, and you're comparing yourself, and say comparison is a thief of joy, right? And so look in your mirror and see what you see and what you want to be, and it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be there because there's another plan for you. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. So all of these nuggets is not just applicable to you at 25, it's also applicable to you today. But at 25, we're more agile, right? And so that's why I say, what would you tell that person? Because today we think that we have to be stuck into something, and I don't want to believe that. So on that note, Ms. Cheryl and Mr. David, we are done here tonight. So thank you